Go ahead.
You want to lead us off? I started last time.
You want me to lead us off today?
Yeah,
gentlemen, ladies, and whoever is in between. Why does that feel odd? We're doing this candid. It feels very strange for it to be off to the side, but it's 16 mil. Yeah, it's perfect. We're just going to work with it and roll with it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning back in. I'm half a MansEndlessMind, Zachary. This is the other half,
Austin.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you, ladies and gentlemen, again.
We've been proposed with the idea, I guess he proposed me with the idea of talking about goal setting and how goal setting can set the limitations and the boundaries for who you expect to be in your life. Because I am a true found believer that the goals that you set determine where you're going to end up. And I'm going to actually get into this quote very soon here, but it's like an archer, right? An archer is trying to shoot a bow at a target, but without the drawback of the bow, without the thought of the bow going in or the bow actually hitting is it the bow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The arrow hitting.
The arrow hitting the target, you're going to have no idea where this arrow is going to fly. Now, while it might end up at that same target because you've been thinking about a goal, it's not going to have that straight towards path. So we're going to talk about goals and how these goals and these things that you set up in your life are actually going to help you achieve success and are actually going to help you achieve what I would like to call a sense of accomplishment. Because having a sense of accomplishment is going to change your life. And I am under the firm belief that having that sense of accomplishment in your life is what you're probably lacking. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to say it sometimes, when you have a sense of accomplishment, when you know what you've got done for the day, life starts to feel a bit better. For instance, one thing I really wanted to talk about, and I'll actually say it now since I'm rambling off, having a list throughout the day, and you check off, check, 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 there's no feeling like it. Because you go to bed that night with the most incredible feeling, because you accomplished something that day.
You got stuff done. Like there was challenges and things to be done, and you conquered it.
There's no other feeling like it, because then you start checking, and then that momentum leads to another check, and then that momentum leads to another check, and another, and another, and another, and then by the end of the night, you're going, okay, I've been stagnant for a while now, but here I am accomplishing all this. And that accomplishment leads to the feeling that I think a lot of people are in search of. If you want to go off of that.
I mean, we'll go with that, like goal setting. Like, it doesn't even have to be anything, extravagant or special.
No, it does not.
Especially, I'll use one that Jordan Peterson has in his book, and he talks about is wake up and make your bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Is that if you're disciplined enough to wake up and make your bed, then that means when you come home after a long day, you already had something prepared for you. You're already preparing the end of your day to be good at the start of the day. And not only that, he goes into, I'm probably going to misquote him, but I've heard him say this on podcasts, or even written in his book. I haven't gotten that far into his 12
Rules for Life,
but he always says, you have to have your own home, you have to have your own home organized before you can view out into the unorganized world and judge them.
Well, it's very interesting, because what I thought you were going to go with is that clip that he had, that he said, if you don't know where to start with something small by cleaning your sock drawer.
Yep.
And it's a very interesting tape, because people think that these goals that they have to have and these things they have to accomplish have to be big.
Massive.
You know what I mean? Like, if I'm setting goals, I don't know where this stigma and where this dogma has come from, that if I'm setting goals for the day, it's got to be big. I got to get a lot done. But people don't realize that the world's largest snowball or snowman didn't start from it being massive.
It didn't just appear.
It's that momentum over time. So if you're one of those people who doesn't know where to start, what I would recommend you do is start small. If you can start small, you will change your life. Clean your sock drawer. I don't care if it's cleaning your underwear drawer or organizing your clothes or organizing
the dishes in the sink.
Oh, as long as it's something.
Especially if it's a task that benefits you.
Yeah.
Because it is mindless. Like one that I always had trouble with is after I do my laundry, I struggle to bring the clothes out of the dryer and bring them off and fold them and put them away as soon as I would always say, I'll do it later. And then later comes, and then you throw it on the bed, and it's like 11 o'clock, you're getting ready to go to bed, you're like, damn, I didn't fold my laundry. Isn't that the lifestyle of
everybody?
So one thing that I've been
You end up going
to
sleep on your shirts, you end up going to sleep on your socks.
You just procrastinate because you don't feel like you should get it done, and not only that, it's like maybe you're getting ready to go with your buddies or something like that. You're leaving in half an hour, and you'd rather just sit on the couch and watch TikToks until your buddy comes and picks you up. But what I found that I've started doing, because I'm just as guilty as this. I mean, we all have lazy days. Some days we don't accomplish as much as we like to get done. We'll dive into it's important to set goals, but give yourself some breathing room. Not everything has to happen overnight. But just doing like Zach said, the small tasks. Like for example, I get home from work and there's a few dishes in the sink. I have a few dirty clothes I need to put on for wash. I have to, you know, tidy up my closet. I got a few pants that I need to hang up, shirts to iron, whatever. You know, and the biggest thing that my mind would twist to me is that you don't have time. It's like, that's going to take a long time. It's like you have other stuff to do. And I would get distracted by that. But at the end of the day, I'd look back and be like, okay, I sat around tonight for about an hour and a half. I could have done everything I told myself I didn't have time for if I just got up and did it when I thought about doing it.
And that's one thing that's very interesting too, is people will also argue the fact that they don't have time to do a certain thing. I know that's the biggest excuse I've ever heard for the gym. And as someone especially who's changed as much in their life, and I know you changed a lot, and speaking from my personal experience, who has changed as much as I have, it's argumentatively one of the most infuriating things to hear when someone tells you that they don't have time to do this or that. Because when you've changed that much, you know that you can have or find the time if you want it that bad.
If you want it that's what I was just about to say. You got to want it. And that's another thing. I mean, the world's a very competitive place. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it online. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it online, but it's like, the real world society is a competitive place. That job that you're fighting for, somebody else is fighting for it too.
Yeah. And as much as it doesn't seem like somebody is.
As much as it doesn't seem like it, you know, it would surprise you how many people share the same goals as you. And it would surprise you at how much work people are doing in silence that you don't know about until it comes to light. And that's why, for me, goal setting is very important, because it keeps your mind focused on an accomplishment that right now might seem impossible, but with enough small steps every single day, you're moving closer to that goal. Which I would like to talk about the gym as well. It's the same sort of thing. You could go to the gym for 4 or 5 months, you know, consistently 3 days a week. You know, you're hitting a good amount of cardio, you're burning a good amount of fat, and you don't see any results. But you know that if you just keep going to the gym every single day and doing what you're supposed to be doing every single day, i.e. diet, exercise, training plan, whatever it is, I'm just talking about the gym, you will get there eventually. And I think I said this on the last podcast, that success is not a linear line, and it looks different for everybody.
It does.
And I'll add this because I saw this today on Facebook. It was talking about something about success, because it was on a Facebook page, and they were speaking about, it was about the show. It's The Big Bang Theory, but when they were young. I can't remember what the show was.
Oh, Young Sheldon, is that what it is?
Yeah, it was talking about, I was reading the comments, it was a scene about when Sheldon's father passed. It was him and Georgie, his older brother. And his older brother grew up to be a successful businessman, wealthy, you know, very well poised. If you've ever watched the show or seen clips of it, Georgie's he's the typical big brother, you know. He looks after everybody. He assumes the man of the house when his father passes, unfortunately. And, you know, he's just if someone's upset, he's there to make them happy. If a problem needs to be solved, he's there to solve that problem, you know, type of thing. Whereas Sheldon, you know, with his mental disability or whatever it was, I don't know that much about it. They were saying that Georgie was more successful than Sheldon.
Interesting.
Whereas Sheldon grew up to be a crazy physicist, won the Nobel Prize, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And one of the comments said, I'll have to go back and find it. There is no determined line for success, and no success is greater than other success. All success is good.
You know what, I'd like to go off of that, because I find a lot of the world, I'm a very big believer in that the world's your mirror.
Yes.
Whatever you're thinking on the inside is going to reflect on the outside, but it's all in perspective. I view something as not bad, but he might view something as not good. And it's all perspective. Success is perspective. Your version of success is going to be different than my version of success. The version that you're looking for has to be a reason that you want to get up and do this thing. Your success needs to be what you want. Don't let your success be what somebody else wants.
Yes, and I want to add in here, make sure that you're doing the success for you.
Which is hard.
which is hard.
It's a very, very, very materialistic world, and it's very easy to get caught up into the trap that I want to buy this, that, and the other thing, which I'm not against, because you know what? If you want to buy it, go ahead.
Life's short, spend your money how you want.
Are you buying it for you, or are you buying it to look good for somebody else? This is a very big issue, and I know we're getting off this topic about goal setting, but are you setting the goals for you, or are you setting the goals for somebody else? Are you working towards Are you working towards the idea that your father has for you, or are you working towards the idea your mother has for you? and you're setting your goals correspondingly to act on either or are you setting the goals for you? Because at the end of the day, you got to realize that you're the creator of your own world, and as much as I hate to say it, would you still be in touch, would you still be with your family members if you weren't part of the same family? And it's a very interesting topic, because if you look at it on a value perspective, just think about it, on a value perspective, would you still hang around with your parents and your family if you did not know them? But it goes to show you that we don't think about these things, and we don't think about these goal-setting things because we work towards somebody else's idea of us. And that's in a very brief way of talking and touching on it. Be very careful how you're setting your goals. Set the goals for you. Set the goals for what you desire. And I know that goes against the whole contradictory thing, whereas it's your will or God's will. But I do believe that there's a bit of a corresponding here where, can God take over, or are you working in unison with God through you? It's a very, very interesting topic.
And then that goes back into, do we really have free will, and this and that and the other thing. Personally, where I stand is that nothing in life, or I shouldn't say this, because some things in life are given to you, but I want to say, don't expect anything to ever be given to you in life. Always be the person to go out and strive for yourself, put your own foot forward, and stand up with your own backbone.
Take the action.
Take the action, because you can't depend on anybody else to do it for you. And at the end of the day, there's one person you can truly count on every night you lay your head on that pillow, and it's you.
Yeah.
You can count on yourself every single day. There's other people in the world, even your friends. Sometimes they have other things to do. Maybe you made plans and something came up and you're like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. It's not the end of the world, but it just goes to show that you cannot depend 100% on anybody else in your life other than yourself. So if you're the only person in this world that will stick up for you 100% of the time, or can stick up for you, I should say 100% of the time, then you absolutely should stick up for yourself 100% of the time in the best interest for yourself possible. And unfortunately, I see it a lot personally. I was guilty of it, chasing an image or chasing success in the name of somebody else's vision. Somebody else's idea. Oh, maybe you thought that idea looked good, but you get going down that path. You're like, oh, maybe this really isn't.
Well, it's very interesting, because the idea of success that we see, and especially we're in such a weird idea of other people, because we see 16-year-olds with these magnificent things, and we feel like we need to live up to that expectation. So our views of what we should be doing, it changes, because there's always going to be somebody out there doing better than you, and there's always going to be somebody out there doing worse than you. Don't get caught up into the fact that your idea of success is having a family. It's a small. Don't get caught up into the idea of your version of success is, I want to work for somebody else, because I don't want to work for somebody else, but somebody else might want to work for somebody else. But that shouldn't limit the idea of success that you have. If somebody is telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, it's your life. It's such a very interesting topic. It's your life.
On this topic, I will add this. As much as goals, especially the way that people talk about them, it seems like they're almost set in stone. Like, say you
have to do this. You have to do this.
Don't be ashamed to change your goals. Sometimes, say for example, you had a goal to make it to the NBA. And you've been training for, you're 14 years old, you've been training all through high school, putting in crazy work. And say you get up to the age of 18, 19, you're a freshman in college, you just committed or whatever, and you're going to school at the same time. And maybe you found out that, hey, I really like mechanical physics. Maybe I want to pursue a career in astrophysics, for example, instead of being an NBA player. Just because you spent 3.5, 4 years, X amount of hard work trying to achieve this goal, there's no shame in saying, you know what? That's not who I am.
Just because the boys are telling you got to make it to the NBA doesn't mean you got to make it to the NBA.
And I use that analogy because it's a huge salary. You're playing a sport for a living. It's very tempting, right? And for a lot of people, that is their dream. And power to you. Whatever goal and dreams you have in your life, amen to that, brother, sister, whoever you are.
Let's take it this way. Whatever you want to do in your life, however you structure your goals, it's going to take courage to do it. And that's the one thing people lack in this modern day, is the courage to go out there and do it in the face of judgment, in the face of that evil, negative, taunting judgment that's sitting on your left shoulder, laughing at you day in and day out, because you're so worried about Becky and what Spencer have to say about you at work. I struggled with this for a lot of my life, because I was very afraid of being judged and what other people have had to think of me, and I would structure my goals in that way. I would kind of lean in and come back on the goals, because I was worried that in order to achieve that, I'd have to look weird in the public eye.
Yes.
Right? So I wanted to talk about this, and I have these sheets. I have 1-year goals, 3-year goals, and 5-year goals, which the 5-year goals are kind of scaring me because it's on to that point where we're going to be 28 and it's on the verge of having a kid and this, that, and the other thing. But if we go back, and unfortunately I don't have my old goals, but looking at this, I'm looking at 5,000 to 10,000 subs, getting MansEndlessMind off the ground and going into public, but these things take courage. And I think if you can cultivate an idea for yourself on how to have courage, what your idea of courage is, and how you can overcome that hurdle, brother, the world's yours. The world's your oyster.
That's true.
If you can have the courage. And it's funny, I read this actually in a Donald Trump book, and my mom can't stand Donald Trump for whatever reason.
A lot of people can't stand Donald Trump.
In his, what was it? I can't remember the name of the book. If I remember it and I'm editing this and I'm actually watching it through, it's on screen. If not, I apologize. But he said that there's nothing that separates you between Roger Federer or Elon Musk, even though Elon Musk wasn't mentioned, but I'm saying that in today's terms, but the courage that it took for them to go and do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I guarantee you, 5 people you pass on the street or 5 people you're driving by right now, whether you're listening to this in a car, whether you got your headphones in or you're in a quiet room, you know somebody who's smarter than XYZ. You know somebody who's faster or better looking or this, that, or the other thing than XYZ. But do you have the courage to do it? Or did they have the courage to do it? Structure your goals around courage. Formulate an idea for yourself of what is courage and how can I get over it.
And don't be afraid to fail, because I really need to start citing these down, these things that pop up on my social medias. But it said something along the lines of winners are just the people who failed but got back up and tried again until they got it.
A righteous man may fall 7 times, but he gets up once again. There's a scripture that's very much similar to that, and I'm sorry, I know for you scripture freaks, I may be not
misquoting
the
Bible.
I do truly believe that goal setting and having some structure in your day-to-day life is what a lot of people are missing.
Yes, big time. I was missing it in the sense I've implemented. I thought my life was, pretty good. I've always been straight and narrow. I've always had my priorities straight and my responsibilities attended to.
Yep.
But it was the organizing the rest of my life that I always had struggled with. Staying on focus on the task at hand. Am I making moves in the way? Or am I making moves in the direction so I can achieve what I want for my goal down the road? This, that, and the other thing. I always struggled with staying focused on not the wrong task at hand, but I could have better used my energy. Yep. And if you're a person like me who has a lot of energy, who doesn't sleep a lot, very active mind, I don't know, probably ADHD or something in between, but that's besides the point. I'm a very big overthinker. I overanalyze a lot, to my advantage sometimes to my dismay. Again, that goes back to the mental health thing, but that's a different topic. But having that organization and knowing or keeping myself on track to put that energy in the correct places, even though I might rather be doing something else right now, maybe I might be rather out ripping up the streets with the boys in the cars, partying. I don't really party anymore. I can't.
It's most relatable to other people, unfortunately.
What other 20-year-olds are normally doing we can hear them right now, actually, across the harbor here, partying.
They're here having a little Harbor Rock Fest over there, aren't they?
Yeah, there's definitely.
I was wondering what that was.
It sounds good.
J.K. Rowling's it's gone.
No, it is. Yeah. Anyway,
J.K. Rowling.
Shout out J.K. If you see this, man, what's up? Send me a Harry Potter collection, please. I love your books.
Hey.
But the organization thing, and that helps with your goal setting because you're not going to get good at setting goals that are achievable overnight.
No, man, you won't.
That's a big thing that I failed with. I set my goals almost a little, I don't want to say too high because nothing's too high, but if you're new to goal setting and you're new to the self-discipline thing,
start small.
And exactly, start small. It doesn't have to be big.
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Maybe your goal for the week is, when I wake up in the morning, I want to make my bed every morning so that when I come home from work, whatever it is you're doing, that I have a nice, clean, fresh bed made every day. And maybe that's just one goal for your week. And then maybe you have a goal throughout the day. Maybe your goal throughout the day is, going out and talking to a stranger.
Sure.
Maybe you struggle with social interactions. Maybe you get a little bit social anxiety. Maybe your goal is, just to go out and even just strike up a small conversation with a guy passing by on the street. Oh, hey, I really like your shoes. Where'd you get those at?
Just random compliments, whatever it might be.
Man. It doesn't have to be anything crazy big because, like we just talked about 1, 3, and 5 year goals. it starts getting tricky at this age
Yeah,
because,
it
you know,
does.
5 years from now, we're talking about 28, 29, getting into 30 years old. And the other thing I wanted to say is don't put a timeline on your life. We're sitting here talking from personal experience, and I'm sure there's people out there, like Zach had said earlier, I'm sure there's 16, 17-year-old kids, you know, 18, 19-year-old kids that are doing a lot better than we are.
Yeah.
But I also know that as our age, you know, 23 years old,
Yep.
we're doing a lot better than people our age and even people older than us.
Man.
And it just goes to show that success is not linear.
No, it's not.
So, you know, some people do get gifted a good hand in life. Some people don't. Some people have more natural talent and they don't have to put as much effort and discipline in. Other people have less natural talent and they compensate with more hard work and more discipline.
It's funny that you say that because there's two things I want to bring up. My dad had told me, actually, we'll say this first. Everybody has an appointed time.
That's true.
My appointed time for success may be different than somebody's
That's right.
appointed time
I'm
for
just gonna check the
success.
timer on this.
And the other thing is my dad had sat me down one day. I'm a very curious fella and I'm willing to ask questions. And actually, I'll tell you a story about something later that
I am too.
He said, I knew people that hit their stride in their 20s and lost it in their 50s.
Yep.
And I knew people who hit their strides in their 30s and 40s and still continue it to this day. He knows people, and my dad came from a very actually weird and interesting background, a very, very interesting. He lost his father at the age of whatever, very super stupid young. His house burned down. He left house at like 18 or 16 or something silly like that because he was worried that his mother wouldn't have enough money to feed him, is from what I understand. But seeing people when you're in that stage, like I see people now where I've been putting in so much work, but people have the success. I'm wondering, okay, why don't I have success? Why don't I have what they have? But then that goes into the conversation of, yeah, they might be riding this high now, but when people are gifted and when people are blessed with these things without learning the lessons behind them, they fall off very fast. Sometimes you have to go through struggles. Sometimes you have to go through these things to gain the knowledge and the wisdom before you uproot.
You weren't
Bamboo
ready yet.
shoots take, what, 5 years underneath the ground and shoot up in a matter of minutes? Or hours or days or whatever it is, but it's the same thing. Set your goals, set where you want to go, and shoot the friggin' bow.
Let the arrows fly, man, and don't be discouraged when they don't hit the target the first time.
That's a big thing too.
Because I mean, every single time you step forward, put out courage, you put on the big boy pants, whatever you want to call it, and you take that first step towards your goal. Some days,
They don't
you know
work.
what? I'm not even gonna say that. Guaranteed, you're gonna fall short at least once.
Disruption always follows intention.
Absolutely.
Shout out Myron Golden. Myron Golden taught me that, but it's a very interesting thing because me and him went out very outside of our comfort zone to go around downtown and ask people questions.
Yeah, very outside.
But it goes to show you what happened is my mic wasn't on the whole time. Disruption follows intention, but the disruption is meant to stop the people who don't want the success. Do not be dismayed, do not be overturned that because something happened when you first started, it's not meant for me. Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown?
Yeah, that's a really good, that's awesome. Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? That's really good. Jeez. Wow.
Rock. We're not messing around here.
That
It's
freaking
preparedness.
floored me.
Preparedness.
Well, because, and you know, I'm going to excuse myself. I'm not going to excuse myself because I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I know that you do too.
Yep.
So those of you who aren't religious, who don't partake, we'll say, in the religious field of things, or the religious way of life, I should say, disregard. You don't have to. I'm not saying, you know, as much as I'd love everybody and welcome everybody into Christianity, because in my eyes we're all brothers and sisters of Christ. As much as I'd love to do that for everybody, I understand that it's not for everybody. And so when I speak and reference my own experiences with God and religion and Jesus and these other things that I like to ground myself to, don't take them, you know, directly to heart. We're talking from personal experience here, and this is what helps us. And if you would hope to decide that, you know, maybe I'd like to start reading the Bible. Maybe I would start to, you know, dive into Christianity. Or maybe you're Muslim and maybe you fell out of your own faith. Maybe if we can inspire that spark to dive back into your own faith.
It's a very
it doesn't
good
have
topic.
to be Christianity. I'm not gonna. I mean,
as much as we want to sit here and say, do it. Listen, brother, free will's a thing.
Free will's a thing, and I'll just say this: my life has improved in insurmountable levels since I've welcomed Jesus into my life again.
Great.
And there's no greater feeling to know that you have the Heavenly Father, the creator of all divine beings, behind your back at all times, no matter what.
See, there's a very interesting topic about you get a sip of water. In the whole setting of goal searching and trying to achieve goals, and disruption follows intention. One thing I've read in scripture that's very interesting, and I think it's written by Paul, it's either in Corinthians, Romans, or Thessalonians, or wherever it is, but any discipline or anything you've overcome isn't something that's too outrageous for you to see. Isn't any discipline that you have, or just be grateful that you've been disciplined by the Father. And it's so nice because I want to go back and record that and cut it out so that it makes and flows, but that's the beauty and rawness of a podcast. The things that you go through, just know that you're disciplined for a reason.
And goes back to this perspective thing. Because the way, I'll be honest, up until, this is a very new mind thought process for me, and I'm still struggling to keep it implemented every day throughout my life. I do get dismayed because this is so new to me. But I used to think as a setback, a failure, a rough day, discipline, maybe you're going through a situation right now that's making you feel very uncomfortable, anxious, worried. I used to view that as a negative thing. Oh, bad things are happening to me. What's going wrong? What's going wrong in my life? Everything sucks right now. I'm so unhappy. I'm sad all the time.
Never get out of this.
I want to get out of this.
Yeah.
But seeing that as a negative thing, viewing the whole negative picture as just a negative, blocked out the chance for me to ever find, I think I spoke about this last one in the first episode, that silver lining in every bad situation. Because like you said, be grateful that you can be disciplined by the Father.
As much as it sucks.
As much as it sucks.
It sucks.
I look back on all the things that, happened in my life, periods of time that I had to go through. Sometimes it's discipline from other people. Sometimes it's self-discipline. Sometimes it's self-realizing that I've been making the wrong moves and actually shooting myself in the foot the whole time. Whatever the situation may be, instead of viewing it as the negative, like, oh crap, I messed up, and just focusing on everything you did wrong, view that as a chance to learn and grow. Because unless you get that negative feedback, you're never going to know if you're doing something wrong. Yeah. If you do something, if you're right all the time, do you really ever know if you're right?
No, you don't.
Nothing's challenging you.
No, you don't.
And you will never grow unless you're challenged at the exact same time. And I don't, again, here I am citing something online with no source or resource. Whoever might have said it, but muscles need to tear in order to grow.
Yep.
Why is the mind any different?
Ooh, that's a good one. I've never heard that. That's good.
Obviously not physically tear your brain apart, but you have to go through
that's
trials
a good one.
and tribulations.
Yeah, because muscles have to go through stress.
And another one is people will never know the violence it took for me to be this calm.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Because
you've been spending all kinds of time online. That's good.
Well, you just got to think, because you'll never appreciate true happiness unless you've felt true sadness.
Oh yeah.
You'll experience it, but you'll never appreciate it. And I think experiencing and appreciating are something that people get mixed up a lot. They would rather experience it than appreciate it. And in my experience, since I've switched from just wanting to experience so many different things, I think back, like, hindsight's 20/20. For example, when we were in high school, can we collectively agree that almost every day we were sitting in that classroom, we're like, man, I really wish I wasn't here right now?
Of course. And I want to go back.
And now I want to go back every single day. It just goes to show, right? You never truly appreciate it. What's the thing? Yeah, you'll never know. The guy from The Office said this, Toby. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good times before the good times leave.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
It just goes to show that you can't have light without dark. Like, there is a yin and a yang.
Law of correspondence, you can't have up without down.
And law of physics, every reaction has an equal and opposite
reaction.
Every reaction has equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, who is that again? That's
Isaac Newton.
Yep. Sir Isaac Newton. Third law? I have no idea.
Third law of physics, I think. I took physics in high school.
But it's true.
It's true.
But think about that for a second. Each action has, what is it?
An equal and opposite. Well, I can't remember what exactly the rule is.
Where we're going with this is, remember, we're talking about goal setting here. each step you take has a reaction, and each step you don't take has a reaction. Don't sit around and wait for the opportunity to show itself. You need to fight, you need to find your primal instinct, and you need to go out there and get it. Grab it by the balls.
Grab it by the balls.
I hate to say it. There's hungry people out there.
Grab the world by the nuts. If you're not willing to do it, somebody else will.
There's hungry people out there.
It's man eat man, girl eat girl. I mean, especially if you're out there trying to be, if we're talking about success, you know, maybe you're trying to move up a corporate ladder, or you're trying to fight for that foreman position in the shop, or, you know, you're really trying to land this contract with this company for photography, for their vehicles that they've been coming, you know, whatever it may be. If you're not there knocking on the door every day, making yourself known, putting in that step or steps every day to achieving that, somebody else will do what you're not willing to do.
It's a hungry world, dude.
It's a hungry world.
It's a hungry world.
And you know,
but don't get turned off by the idea of competition. See, a lot of people think the idea of competition, or don't like the idea of competition, because they find it too competitive. They don't like the
pressure.
They don't like the pressure. They don't like the aspect of it. They don't like the idea of it. But what I'm saying to you is, embrace it.
Embrace it.
If you would only flip the script and say, you know what, I can actually handle this. Because some people think they can't handle pressure. But you'd be very surprised of the things you can handle when you're put in a position you didn't ever expect to be in.
Right.
And some people haven't had that moment in their life of true desperation for them to want it bad enough.
Yep.
And it's a very interesting topic, because where I come from in my background, you guys, I don't think a lot of people understand how bad I wanted to be skinny. I wanted it a lot more than everybody, because I had dealt with this mental fact of, I'm fat, I don't look good, no girl wants me, because it was a very big thing as a kid. Everyone wanted a girl, you wanted to be skinny.
I was the same mentality, just the opposite end of the spectrum. I was skinny.
But some people have not had that opportunity, and I'm calling it an opportunity because I truly do believe that there is something grateful and some greatness behind people who have struggled that much and who have rose. Because if you have not had that opportunity in your life to be down in the dumps, to figure out what you don't want and how can I get out of here.
That's right.
If you had that opportunity, and some people haven't, you'll never grow. I'm sorry, you will never grow if you have not had that opportunity. I don't think you will actually achieve success.
There comes a point in everybody's life, I think, that people just realize that, you know, the world's not butterflies and rainbows.
No, and it sucks. It's so hard to hear,
It's such a hard... For me, it was when I was 13 and diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I mean, a lot of people... And one of the issues I did when I was first diagnosed, this is what kind of started really the decline. Not the decline, because I didn't decline as a person, but started the bad habits that I just recently broken. And I'm 10 years ago I'm talking about this happened. It took me this long. And that many years of neglecting it and pushing away the problem. But when I was in denial, you know, because my parents knew, but I just needed to go get it confirmed at the hospital. You know, my whole mom's side of the family is in the medical field, so, you know, I was actually in Florida at the time when my family had realized that, oh shit, this kid is diabetic. He has to be diabetic. There's no way. You know, and the doctors were actually very surprised that I was still walking on my own when I got to the hospital. They're like, you should be in a coma right now. But regardless to the point, in my mind, it was a lot to. It is a lot to deal with.
13-year-old.
But the problem was at the time, even when I got to the IWK, and my mom said this to me the night before we got to the IWK. She said, "This is happening whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You have two options." He said, "I can drag you in here by your ears, kicking and screaming, or handcuff you, if need be, because this treatment needs to happen. Or you can grow up and walk in on your own 2 feet. Your choice."
You know, but that's such good advice, though.
And,
can we go back to that before you...
I just need to say thank you to my parents for raising me like that.
Sorry, yes. Thank you, Austin's parents. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. Yep. It's so true. It is so true. Whatever you're going through, it's going to happen whether you like it or not.
There's got to be an outcome. There has to be a conclusion.
Wow.
And it's going, and like I said, the time keeps ticking whether you're on board with it or not. But that's what she presented it to me. She said, this is happening. She goes, there's no two buts about it. Yep. So, and I literally at that, I was fighting her. I was fighting mom, dad, the nurses, everything.
The world.
I was fighting the world because I did not want to believe that I just got this random autoimmune illness that's going to change my life forever, especially at 13 years old, you know, going through puberty, hormones. Like, I was dealing with a lot. That was a lot. But as soon as she said that, you could do it on your own.
Game over. It's game changing.
The problem was I did too much on my own. I wouldn't allow people to help me because in my mind, I perceived that as weak. that you need somebody to help you with this, you can do it on your own. But at the same time, it wasn't, I need somebody to help me with this. It would be nice if somebody could help me with this.
You go from not wanting it to kind of wanting it to not really saying anything about wanting it.
You know, thinking back, like I said, in hindsight, I mean, I had excellent control of my blood sugars, you know, the first year and a half. I was because to be truthful with you, I was scared to death. I was like, if I don't do this, I'm going to get really sick. But I'm not going to go into the reasons why I stopped taking care of myself, because it's hindsight, and I don't want to spread misinformation to any of the diabetics that are listening there, because I don't really make ketones, so I don't really get the immediate negative effects that a lot of other people do when their sugar gets high. Mind you, it's still very bad for you, and I don't keep your sugar above like 8, 9. Like, you know, I get upset.
It's a foreign world to me. This is all you.
You know, I'm not going to speak about my disease too much, but that mentally, I learned years later when I tried to go to a clinical psychologist. Unfortunately, when I applied to see her when I really needed the help, she was on mat leave. And there was only one in the entire hospital for the province. So I was like, well, I'm kind of shit out of luck until she comes back. So she ended up coming back from mat leave. I think she literally just left. So it was like 9 months later, 8 months later, whatever it was. And I get this call, and it was the girl from the clinical, it was the psychiatrist. And I was talking to her. She was like, well, because the reasons why I needed to see a psychiatrist weren't related to my illness, so she wasn't the one that I needed to see. I just needed to see a regular therapist or whatever. And what she had told me then was type 1 diabetes is the only disease out there that is 100% self-regulated by the patient with no assistance from a medical professional.
Interesting.
And I didn't know these facts when I was younger. I learned these when I was about 19 or 20 years old. And she said it's easily one of the hardest diseases to mentally endure because of the amount of decisions that you have to make on your own for your own immediate health and continuing health down the road. Everything I do in my 20s will affect how I live when I turn 40.
But stop right there. And this is perfect because it goes into the goal setting.
I wanted to say it.
It's such a good lead up into it. Everything you do now sets you up to where you need to be.
That's right.
Every step you take is setting you up somewhere that needs to be where you need to be, but every step you don't take is not helping you get to where you dream to be. It's a
wasted step.
It is.
It's a wasted step.
I know
you have a note written down there.
Which one?
That small steps add up over time.
They do.
And
they do, man.
What I wanted to say is, again, since we're talking about goals, say you have a 3-year goal. You don't have to make leaps and bounds towards these goals every single day that you're trying to achieve them. Some days you're only going to get maybe, we'll talk a distance standpoint, say you're a mile away from your goal. Some days you only move 6 inches. Other days you jump 5 feet.
It's very interesting. It's not linear. It's not linear, like you said.
But as long as you're making an inch towards that goal every single day, if you make it even the smallest effort to what you're really trying to achieve every single day, at least at the bare minimum, you will get there someday.
Oh yeah.
It's just
when is that day?
When is that day? And
but that's a lot of things. That's what people can't realize, is that the day's going to come, but we don't know when the day is going to come. And it's that hoping, and it's that feeling, and is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Oh, it didn't happen today. Is it going to happen? No, it didn't happen today. Is it going to happen? No, it didn't happen today. And then what happens? They fall off the wagon.
And they fall off the wagon, and I was guilty of that myself before. And what I found myself doing was, when I'm working so hard to achieve my goals, and say, like you said before, somebody else is doing so well, why don't I have that success?
Yeah, it's hard, man.
I would always look at that and be jealous. You know, not jealous, or envious. Envious, I guess I should say. I wish I was in their position instead of the way I view it now, like especially my close group of friends. You know, younger me, when, you know, I'll admit this, if the boys watch this, sorry, but say one of you guys got something, you know, got a brand new car or something, like you got a new truck.
Yeah, you were envious.
I was envious. I was like, God damn, I wish I could do that. I would never go out and say that to my boys. I mean, it was never from ill intent, but I'd be lying to sit here and say I didn't have those feelings.
Of course, everybody does.
I was very envious, and I always try to be grateful and uplifting, and, you know, quick to praise other people when they do something good.
Yeah, man.
And instead of looking at other people that have success, I'm trying to just be as grateful as I humanly possibly can, because say for example, say for example you get offered some crazy auto body job with RWB.
Sure.
I mean, what an experience of a lifetime, job of a lifetime, whatever you want to call it. Past me would have been envious. Like, oh damn, I wish that was me.
Yeah.
Why can't that be me? And sometimes it would get in the way of me expressing gratitude or expressing praise towards that person. But nowadays I see it as, you know what? If it can't be me, I'm glad it's you.
Yeah.
And I since I've shifted that view of success that isn't mine, it's allowed me to be more at peace with the progress that I'm making.
Yeah, not comparing yourself to everybody else.
Not comparing myself, because it's a thief of joy.
You're going to do it. Everybody does it, man.
Just knowing that, maybe someday or somewhere in another world that would have been me, I'm just grateful that somebody does get to enjoy it. Because there's a lot of things in this world that people will never get to enjoy. They'll never get to experience certain things. Like, I'll use this for an example. When I was in Army Cadets, I was on the provincial marksmanship team for 2 years, I think. I went to Victoria, BC for nationals. And it was a national competition, so of course we had all of the provinces send teams, and it was based on population. So of course Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, they had more teams than we're only allowed 5 shooters from Nova Scotia. Ontario had like 50 shooters.
Oh,
it was stupid. But anyway, all these provinces that are landlocked. Meanwhile, we grow up on the ocean. We have the other Navy base here, and we're at Esquimalt, the other Navy base on the other side of the country, and most of the cadets and officers even that were at this event have never seen salt water before.
Really?
No, they live in landlocked provinces and they never travel.
I guess.
So when the first day we get there, we're all on base, we're all staying in barracks. So like, I got Ontario guys, BC guys, we're all sharing the same wing, and we're setting up our rooms. I'm packing our suitcases. We just got all our rifles. We're going through like gear check, inspection and all this other stuff. And all these kids were saying was, man, let's go to the ocean. Let's go jump in the ocean.
You're being serious.
And they came, knocked on our door. They're like, come on, guys, let's go see the ocean. And we're sitting here like, dude,
it's the ocean. I see it every day.
It's nasty water, man. What do you think? What do you mean? I'm like, we got to go see the Navy boats. I'm like, dude. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here looking at this kid.
Freaking out. Like, dude, what? It's just water. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's the greatest experience in his life for him, but it means absolutely nothing to me. And it just goes to show that, perspective is everything. And I keep saying this over and over and over again, because I'm not going to tell you how to change your perspective, but there will come a day that things just click. And like you said, like you're catching your stride. You are.
Like you will catch your stride one day. Someday you're just going to be like, you know what? I really have been doing it wrong. I really should be thinking this way. And every person's different. The conclusion's going to be different for everybody. But I promise you, just as it happened for me, and I'm sure it happened to you, there will come a day where something just clicks.
And you don't even know what it is.
You don't know what it is.
That's the strangest thing, because
this is why I praise God.
Can you even put a figure to it? Because you look back and hindsight's 20/20, but I don't think hindsight's 20/20 and when you get your stride. Because you can't really think about the idea of, okay, well, hold up, this happened, and this happened, but why did this happen, and how did this come to be?
Right.
And why is this happening? But all of it leads into you hitting your stride. It's so you can't even put
Sometimes you don't have to
on
understand everything. And I find that's a better way for me personally, because I spend a lot of time either thinking about the past, what could have been, what I didn't like happened, whatever, or I'm busy thinking about the future. Which thinking about the future isn't always a bad thing, as long as you're doing it in a constructive way.
Which most people aren't.
But I find that you're running away from trauma in your past, and you're getting anxious about your future, thinking about what's in store for you. But the true act of being at peace, one will say, is just being present.
Yep.
And being present is a huge key, in my opinion, to also being successful.
Yep.
Because you have to be present in your task at hand. You have to be present in the matter or responsibility that you're dealing with in order to do it 100% to your ability. I mean, by just, being present. Except, I think I said this before, you have to, oh geez, I'm going to misquote myself.
Keep going.
What are you paying to know? Hey, sun's shining. You made me that sun just made me lose my train of thought. Oh, geez, sir, help me out here. You're fooling around the camera. I'm too keen.
It was just it looked nice.
This is how easy it is for me to get distracted. So I just want to let you know that when I'm trying to think of my positive reinforcement habits, that is how quick my mind bounces from idea to idea.
Yeah.
And that's how hard it is to rein your mind in, and how important discipline and habits are. Because if you don't have those habits, a lot of your mind throughout the day is just your subconscious. I find, for me anyway, like I find a lot of my reactions and actions are subconscious reactions because I've built habits.
Habits.
And by building, why it's so important to build these habits is that instead of having your subconscious focusing on, a dirty habit or something that isn't productive to your life, build those habits in a sense so that your subconscious can do those good acts. My subconscious tells me when I wake up in the morning, out of habit, I'm making my bed now. Out of habit, when I get home from work and there's a few dishes in the sink, I'll wash up dishes in the sink.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of having to force your conscious mind to change your subconscious into doing the action at hand, the whole point of building the good habits is so that you don't have to actively think about doing good things, so that you're constantly doing something productive towards yourself, so you can better spend your conscious mind thinking about your future, planning your next move. Maybe it's your next day at work. Maybe you have a big meeting coming up, or maybe you have a really nice car that's coming in for a crazy detail service or something like that. If you can better manage the amazing tool that your brain is, because I still haven't figured out how to do anything with my brain.
Hey,
yet.
listen, most people haven't, and never will.
And to me, that's one of my great meanings in life, is trying to figure out, constantly learning something about myself.
Yeah.
Because if there's
Constant
one thing that I
progression.
thought I knew, is that I thought I knew myself. I knew myself. Me and my friend Tyler were actually talking about this. I keep viewing myself as that 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm 23 years old. I'm not the same person I was when I was 20 years old, let alone 17 years old. So that's why I said staying present is also important, because when you dwell too much on the past, it's almost...
You live from the past.
You live from the past, and you're living still almost in the past. So you're missing out on opportunities and different avenues that are present. But when you spend too much time in the past, you don't get enough time in the present and the future, so you don't get to plan anything at the same time. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is balance is really the key to life, because no matter how much we like it or not, sad days come for everybody, happy days come for everybody, and balancing out the good and the bad is really where I think true happiness and true peace comes from. Because when I say balancing out the good and the bad, like I said about a silver lining, man, they're going crazy over there, eh? When I said about the good and the bad with the silver lining, when something not foreseeable or not desirable is happening to you, search for the opportunity to gain something good out of it. Because yes, you're accepting the bad for what it is, which is bad, but you're also not attaching yourself to it to the point that you can't let it go. And by not attaching yourself to the bad, it allows you to attach to the good, as small as it may be at that point in time. If you're gonna attach to anything at all, you might as well make it good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
If you're gonna do anything at all, you might as well make it, either good for you or good for the people around you. And that's the way I kind of look at things. As easy as it is to get caught up in all these negative emotions, these negative processes, these negative situations, sometimes it's not even a mind. Sometimes you end up in bad situations in physical form.
Well, it's one thing I wanted to say and strike on that you actually talked about was thinking and dwelling on the past. Yes, I am a believer that you shouldn't be thinking about the past. It is what it is. But there's always an option for motivation from the past. Has there ever been a moment in your life where you've been so frustrated with what happened, and you've been so frustrated with this, that, or the other thing, and you don't know what to do about it? I'm telling you right now, use it as fuel. Use that past feeling that you've had and use it to never feel that again. Use it to get out of the situation you're at. You've had a failure in the past. You've broken up in the past. You weren't as good as your job in the past. You now have one of the best igniters for a fire you would ever have in your life. If you have had past regrets, if you have had past experience, if you had past anger, use it to your advantage and propel farther and higher than the rest. Rockets that just don't go up from nothing. Rockets have to have an igniter. They have to have fuel. You need to understand something. If you're on this idea that we're on, where we want to become better, we want to become this new idea of ourselves, we want success, we want to see how far we can take ourselves in a natural standpoint.
Yeah.
What's your why? I think is what it comes down to. What is your why?
Do you want my answer? I've been kind of thinking about this, and you know, to be quite truthful with you, I don't want to give you a definitive answer, because you know that why to me, you almost can't put a timeline on it, because why on July 11th, 2024 for me might not be the same why on July 11th, 2025.
No, and that's your goals switch. Your goals are always going to change.
Goals change, right? And you know, why for me right now is because I owe it to myself.
Yeah.
In my own mind.
Sure.
You know, I owe it to myself to try and be the best possible version of myself I can be every single day. And the reason I say I owe it to myself is because for so many years, I made myself believe that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't deserving of anything, that everything good in my life just happened at a fluke, and not because of my hard work, my determination that I never gave myself credit for. You know, as many doors that have been open for me, I was the one to take the step through and keep walking through them. And I never stopped and allowed myself to be happy about it. I never stopped and allowed myself to feel proud about myself about it, because I always thought that the way I always viewed it was, okay, what's next? There's something better. You know, this isn't good enough. I achieved it. What's next? You know, I'm good. Let's keep going. Like, and I wouldn't stop and smell the roses. And that was majority of, you know, I want to say the teenage years when you're really developing your brain. That was when I was most destructive to myself. And the reason I say I owe it to myself now is because, like I said, in hindsight, thinking back on myself, yes, I was a worse person, objectively, for sure, but I wasn't as bad as I made myself out to be. And as a person, I wasn't as bad as person as I made myself out to be. And, you know, skill-wise, emotionally-wise, mindset-wise, was I the best? Absolutely not. I never will be. I'm a much better position than I am today, but I just wish that I allowed myself that grace, allowed myself that cushion to fall on, and not just have a stone-cold rock floor when I'd fall over. At least, you know, have a couch cushion or something. Because everybody falls down. And not allowing yourself to be happy with your own achievements and your own happiness. Like, I would literally generate a happy scenario and not allow myself to be happy in it.
Oof.
I would literally accomplish something great and not allow myself to be proud of it, because I always felt that there was something better and there's something else I can be working to achieve for. And if there's something left on the table, then I'm not going to get the praise. And that's the way I thought for years and years and years. And not because of anybody else's doing. It's just my own twisted ways that I've fomented, and nasty habits, of course, over years. And now that I've realized in hindsight that I've been I don't want to say my biggest supporter, because I'm my biggest supporter, but it was coming from hate. It was coming from fear of hating myself, almost. That I'd hate myself more if I didn't achieve this. And why I said I'm doing it for myself now is because nobody deserves to feel like that, whether or not you put yourself there or somebody else is making you feel like that. Having lived through it on my own accord, it's not fun. I mean, it has excelled me to achieve everything that I've ever set my mind to in colorful fashion. I truly believe that I'm a very capable guy of doing many different things in many different capacities at my best possible ability every single time I step up to the plate. But it took me 10 years of hating myself to realize that and confidently say it in front of a camera. Actually, I've never said that about myself ever before. And
it's good. It's monumental.
It is, man. And I'm doing it in front of the camera to show you that, you know, things do change. And unfortunately, it took me a lot longer. It took me almost 10 years to get to this point. But the reason why I say I'm doing it for myself is because I could have been doing that for myself.
It's funny. There's a Marcus Aurelius quote.
I love Marcus Aurelius.
What a shame it would be for a man to... What was it? It's what a shame it would be for a man to not realize his full potential. It's something along that line.
Socrates also said, "It is a great shame for a man to grow old and die without seeing the beauty and strength his body is capable." It was Socrates.
Socrates?
Yeah. I think did you get the quote mixed up? Is that what the one you were thinking
That's
of?
what I was thinking of.
It is the greatest sin or the greatest shame for a man to grow old and die without seeing the beauty and strength his body is capable of. Or something along the lines. That was Socrates. And I love that because...
Would you argue the fact that's why...
That's really why I'm doing it. It's because...
You want to see how far you can take it.
I owe it to myself to be the best version of myself. If there's a better version of... There is a better version of me out there right now waiting to be achieved and waiting to be unlocked. I just need to keep putting in the correct steps, achieving the right goals, you know, and constantly working and taking those tiny little inches towards that new version of you. Mm-hmm. It's like evolving a Pokemon, man. You have to go through battles. You have to gain experience before you grow into the next level. And life is kind of the same thing. You have to get beaten on the chin sometimes. You have to take a kick. You have to take punches in order to grow.
Go take your call.
Yeah, excuse me.
Go take your call.
Hello.
And it comes to the point where Zach single-handedly talks to a camera as we're almost an hour into this podcast, and I don't know how the viewership is doing, but I just wanted to say, set your goals, and you'll succeed. But don't, I don't even know where I'm going because I'm so distracted by his phone call. Set your goals. That's all I really have to say. Set your goals. It'll change your life.
Excuse me. You had a phone call last time. I had a phone
Come
call
on
this time.
now, busy people.
I know, eh?
Well, I think, is there any final words that you wanted to say? Is there anything you wanted to end off with? Anything that you wanted to share with the
yes,
people?
I didn't share that quote. I didn't share that Greek proverb at the start of the video.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this little quote. It's a Greek proverb. I've seen it months ago, and it just happened to pop up today. And since we're talking about goal setting, I just wanted to end on this. I'll share one of my, this is a lifetime goal of mine, and one of my lifetime goals. And it's so that one thing I've realized is that materialism doesn't matter. And like we went out downtown, he said, you know, I might own this car right now, but in 20 years time, somebody else is going to have it. It might even not even be on the road in 20 years time. You know, the house that you worked so hard for, when you're dead and gone, somebody else is going to live in it, or it will be bulldozed and a skyscraper will go up on it. You know, the materialism of the world really doesn't matter because it's always going to change. But one thing I did realize, and you know, the Bible has taught me this, and you know, just trying to be in a more philosophical mindset, is that if there's one thing that does last for eternity, it's the effect you leave on humanity and the people that live in it. And one of my lifetime goals is leaving the people who I care about or who in, you know, my general vicinity. When I pass, I hope to leave an everlasting effect on those people for many decades and generations to come. That I hope that the way that I lived my life and the way I treated others is a habit that the people I care about, past, present, and, you know, future, well, maybe not past, but I mean, I know they're watching up there, but present and future people around me, I hope that at least something of my character, something of my stature, something of my habits will leave a good everlasting effect, you know, not just on the people I care about, but it so happens the world.
Yep.
And one of the things, that's one of the goals I have, and I'm going to leave you with this Greek proverb because it really puts the nail at the head. And it says, a society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. And that just puts it all into perspective for me, because society will grow when we start thinking about others more than we think about ourselves. And to understand the sacrifice and the gratitude that we must have for each other so that we can still grow is, to put it in plain terms, if you, maybe you might not be able to enjoy this, you know, say for example, this YouTube channel. Say this YouTube channel grows to 3 million subscribers, whatever, and we started a way for other people to start making YouTube channels as such and such. You know, maybe, and we're not here to make money, and you know,
sorry, I had to.
We're not here to make money, but you know, maybe somebody else down the road, it makes money off of this. You know, we planted a tree in shade that we never planned on sitting in, but somebody else got to enjoy it.
Frig, that's good.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
And even just sharing this knowledge with you, I hope that this knowledge in physical terms is planting a tree that I know I'll never sit in that shade because we're trying to give the help to you beautiful people. And that's why I wanted to leave you with that quote, is because, you know,
it's good.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to plant trees that you guys can sit in, even though we know we're never going to sit in that same shade. Unless you invite us.
Oh, no, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
Oh, no, we'll be there.
We'll have our own trees.
I don't know about this. We'll be there.
We'll be there.
You'll see me. You'll see him. We'll be there.
We'll be there.
There's no messing around here.
History in the making.
Come on now.
All right, let's
Don't
get
me too excited.